After recently completing the transition from beginner adult to intermediate adult, it got me thinking, I wish that there were helpful tips on just becoming a good intermediate player like there are tips in becoming an intermediate adult. Like right now I can tell you, if you get a jury summons thing, just ignore it. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing bad's ever going to happen when that goes down. The same can be true to guitar. So today I'm just going to talk about some stuff that I think every intermediate player should know that maybe gets kind of skipped. We're going to work on two main things, and the first one is going to sound like this. Like maybe if you just have like a real simple progression like a C, D, E minor progression, we're going to play it in a little bit different way that might open up the fretboard for you a little bit, right? So everybody kind of knows that C major chord. Beginner, right? There you are, showing up in your suit for jury summons. Chump. Play it like this, right? C major 7. Okay, so instead of playing 3A with your ring finger, 2D with your middle finger, 1B with your pointer finger, use your ring finger on the G note on the E string 3rd fret, pinky 3rd fret A, middle finger 2nd fret D string just like it was. And then kind of get that nice open C major 7 sound. The sound of getting away with not having to go to jury duty. Don't talk to me if you actually do end up in jail for that, by the way. I'm just, that's an intermediate adult tip, not an advanced adult tip. The advanced adult tips will keep you out of prison indefinitely. I'm working on that still, so bear with me, right? So here's your C chord, right? Instead of this. And instead of going to D, we can use that same shape. Okay? So, now technically this is going to be a different chord, but it's such a different vibe than regular D major. And we're going to talk about moving these shapes around later in the video in different keys. But right now I just want to talk about how we can go the same shape from C major-ish to D major, and then down 2 more frets right here to play the E minor in a different way. Right? E minor, E minor. I've just got that same shape for the C and D shape, but then flattening what is its 3rd to go 7, 7, 5, open all the way. All right? So, now again, this isn't really making it more intermediate or advanced. This is making it different up to this point. Again, here's traditional C, D, E minor. And then the newer way. Now, the first thing that I think this does is it just gives you different options, and it kind of breaks you out of the box of thinking there's only one way to play something, all right? Now, both of these are just acceptable replacements for each other. So maybe if you have a song that is just looping the same part over and over again, C, D, E, maybe the next time you play it, you go C, D, E. And it just kind of adds some variety to your playing. But also, it's going to set you up into different positions that are going to help you do cooler things. Cooler, you know, relative to what you think cool is, right? And right now is a great time to talk about how this video is sponsored by Sweetwater and Gibson Acoustic Guitars. Rocking the Gibson J45 out here. Really awesome. The workhorse of all the Gibson acoustics. I get all my stuff from Sweetwater. Definitely check them out. Helps the channel, even if it's just getting a pack of strings or whatever. I will have an affiliate link in the description. So check that out if you want to be an advanced adult. Get your stuff from the finest place. Finest musical retailer of all time. All right? So the next thing that we're going to do is we have this C chord. All right? Now, remember, even though our lowest note is not a C, we said it was a G now, we can do stuff off of the root note. All right? 3rd fret on the A string is a C. Now, let's just talk about something you can do for any major chord, no matter what key you're in, where you are on the neck. Thinking of this note as a starting point for something else. Whatever that is, that's up to you. What we're going to do is we're going to take a little pentatonic 5-note deal through the neck that is contextually going to help us get into another shape. Okay? So, if we think of the notes C, D, E, G, A string 3rd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret, D string 5th fret, 7th fret. Again, really easy to conceptualize, right? But thinking of it with your pinky starting out and maybe sliding different things around there, right? So I'm always thinking C major, but I'm moving around in a way that I can kind of utilize those notes and have at my disposal, right? So what that does contextually in this specific instance is kind of lines me up after doing some kind of lick with those 5 notes, lines me up into going to that next chord, that D chord. And again, the beautiful thing about this kind of pentatonic run as compared to a full major scale run is that this is going to work off of any major chord. That's the beauty of something like this, right? Where it's just really, if we think about this in terms of the major scale, it's, 3A is like the 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 in the major scale, as compared to thinking maybe what some people will consider more advanced, like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the C major scale. Again, I don't want to get too advanced. These aren't advanced adult tips quite yet. Something like that might be, if you never answer the door to collect your divorce settlement papers, you never actually get divorced. That's a pro tip for you right there. Take that one to the bank. But you can always use something like that just to kind of riff off of, right? So if we start with the C, then I'm in that D spot, working my way up to E minor, and it's just kind of, gives you something a little more to play with, right? And then we finally get to that E minor chord now. Another thing that I really like specifically about this key, again, the key of E minor, the key of G, the people's key, as we like to call it, is you don't even have to have your ring finger on the 5th fret. You can open it up to get that low E. See, again, there's not a huge difference. It's like, here's this chord with a B in the bass as compared to an E. The nice thing about opening up that E string is you can really strike the root note and almost make it go back and forth. That's the nice thing about having a 5th below to whatever chord you're doing, even like you do with the C chord. It kind of creates a little bit of variety. It's all about variety, right? That's the key to being an intermediate adult. A lot of variety in your life. Now, again, this is E minor. E minor pentatonic is something that you might be familiar with. And that is just rooted here on the 7th fret of the A string. So maybe there's your pentatonic note that you can riff off of here. 7, 10, 7, 9, 7, 9, or open 3, open 2, open 2. Same notes, okay? So start thinking of them in different places. So maybe by the time we get to that E, you can kind of think of that slide right there. Again, if we're thinking of your pinky where the root note is, you can think of maybe getting into that minor pentatonic shape in a different way, leading with your pinky. And because all of this is in the same key, you can actually launch into this spot anywhere, right? Same with open 2, or open 3, open 2, open 2. We can start up here. And again, now you're kind of like exploring the chord progression a little bit more as compared to just playing. Which again, there's a time and a place for that. I don't want to say like, oh, you should make your playing way busier no matter what you're doing. There's definitely a time and a place for just keeping it simple with triads and just playing the chords however you want. But it's supposed to be a conscious decision that you're making musically rather than it being just the only thing that you can do, all right? Now, the next thing I want to spend a little bit of time talking about is how to change this up into different keys. And this is something that I wish I would have spent more time on earlier, okay? So right now this works because we've got C major and this open E, B, and G string are ringing out over everything to kind of give it a cool vibe. Well, what if we want to do something in a different key, right? If we just go a half step higher, sounds terrible. All the shapes and stuff that we just learned is kind of useless. So really, this is where you want to use some technique to allow yourself to transpose keys using the exact same shapes and just muting the stuff that isn't going to work in a new key. So if we do just take it a step higher, this would be like the key of like A flat, G sharp. We can do the same thing, the exact same things, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to aggressively mute the strings a little bit more, which gives me a little bit more margin of error, and I'm also going to concentrate on muting the G string with one of my fretting fingers, okay? So when it comes to like playing something like, again, this open C major 7 chord, I'm an intermediate adult. I can kind of hit the strings I'm aiming for. Every now and then I might get a rogue string, maybe I'll go a little too far. So if I'm just hitting these strings, if this is like a D flat or a C sharp, as soon as I hit that open G or B, it just gets derailed. You know what I mean? So what I want to do is maybe my middle finger just lays down a little bit to give myself more of a margin for error where it's naturally muting the G string like that. And you can still hear I can like the higher strings might ring out if you're just doing that, but that's where your palm comes in. And then everything else is going to be just what you're allowing the sound to come through, just what you're playing unmuted, which is going to be the lower strings, right? So now I can do the exact same shape. I can start here. Right? And I'm not going to get those high open strings to kind of ring out. And again, that's coming from the technique in my right hand or my strumming hand. See, and also another advantage of like locking in like this is you can see that my stroke isn't accidentally going too far, right? I'm pretty well locked into just getting these lower 3 strings. And again, I might accidentally go a little too far and hit that G string, but my left hand is muting it. So I think one of the biggest improvements that I made in my own personal playing was really having control over the strings that I was letting sound out and having that only the notes that I was aiming for come through. I always thought that maybe it was like you just eventually get so good with your pick that you only ever hit the strings that you're looking for. Like if you go and see maybe like an artist that you like you're at a show or something, it's like, wow, how did he or she play that entire set without making a single mistake? Well, I'm sure from a picking standpoint, not everything was totally on point, but the technique of the player allows you to kind of really hide mistakes a little bit better, right? So again, just to recap, we've got a few things that we're working on. We're talking about rooting on the A string, getting the 5th below to kind of go back and forth to give you more variety as far as like what the bass note is going to sound like. We're talking about branching off from a root note into a pentatonic thing. This is going to work over any major chord and minor pentatonic over any minor chord, right? Again, from that E. And then also using technique to just mute and get only what you're trying to get. In fact, that's a great way to do it. If you can work this chord all the way down without hearing an open G string, then you're doing pretty good and you're kind of working on that control. Again, really just focus on getting good tone, or what you think is good tone. Some people even say that I don't have good tone, believe it or not, out of the instrument, and then you'll kind of find the techniques that work for you. Because I think the cool thing about becoming an intermediate player is you're working less on the beginner stuff as far as like how to build chords, how to move around, and you get to find more of like your own voice as a player. And to me, that's what kind of like separates those words, those labels, which I think I'm not a huge big fan of anyways, but it's just something that people gravitate towards: beginner, intermediate, advanced, right? So good sign that you're on the right track is you're starting to find the tools and techniques that help you sound how you want to sound instead of just kind of fumbling around and, you know, playing what you feel like you should be playing. So thank you again to Sweetwater for sponsoring this video. Gibson Acoustics, really loving this J45. I love the binding and like the wood choices on this are awesome. So yeah, definitely get yourself some strings. I use Elixir 12s on most of my acoustics, so I'll put an affiliate link for that in there too. If you just want to kind of show some love, and if you have any questions or comments, hit me in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website. I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot.